hacking, slashing, and a lot of screaming. And of course, the slow and brutal end of the Greek and Norse gods. That's right, my friends, we're about to witness the adrenaline-fueled and blood-soaked story of the God of War games. Yeah, it means we're gonna see the legendary Kratos go from being called the champion of the gods.
It's you! The visions, they were real! The gods came to me, told me their champion would come and rescue us from the Hydra.
To ultimately becoming the God Killer.
That was for Baldur. Now show me this God Killer I've heard so much about.
Wow, that's one hell of a transformation. Full disclosure, I'm kind of getting over sickness here, so the first part of this video might be a little rough voice-wise. I'm sorry about that in advance. On the plus side, it means that I can reach lower registers than I ever have. Boy, get in the boat, boy. Pretty good. Alright, let's get started. God of War is an incredibly popular video game franchise developed by Santa Monica Studio. Follows Kratos, a dude with some serious anger issues, who hates all gods. His story started off in 2005 in Greek mythology and then shifted to the Norse world of Midgard with a major reboot in 2018. There are about 10 God of War games in total, but we're going to skip 2 because they just don't contribute enough to the overall story. Also, for this recap, we won't follow the chronological order, we'll go from the release order because it's just way more fun. Anywho, let's strap in and begin with the first God of War game. The first game kicks off with Kratos, also known as the champion of the gods, standing on the cliff of Greece's highest mountain. And sadly, the gods of Olympus, the Greek gods who reside on Mount Olympus, have abandoned Kratos. So he's lost all hope and wants to end his life. But why exactly did the gods abandon Kratos? Well, the game takes us back 3 weeks earlier to answer that question. Now, we see Kratos on a wrecked ship in the Aegean Sea. The dude is holding the Blades of Chaos, which were forged in the depths of the underworld. But who gave such deadly weapons to Kratos? Well, we'll learn later on. Anywho, the ship is filled with dead soldiers from the underworld, and Kratos starts to rip apart every single one of them. As Kratos moves ahead, he sees Poseidon, the god of the seas, who asks him to kill the Hydra. The Hydra is a sea monster that has been terrorizing everybody in the Aegean Sea. Shockingly, Hydra is almost the size of an entire island, and it has many heads. Wow, that is nightmare fuel for sure. Anyway, Kratos must kill Hydra's main head, the Hydra King, to truly free the sea from this monster, and of course, killing Hydra isn't exactly easy. So, Kratos acquires Poseidon's Rage from the god of the seas. The magic ability allows Kratos to fry his enemies with lightning bolts. Moving on, after killing several smaller heads of Hydra, Kratos finally goes against the Hydra King. The main head of the monster is so goddamn massive that it makes Kratos look like an insect. Anyway, it takes some effort, but Kratos eventually kills off the Hydra King. Wow, that's enough seafood for a lifetime. Or 10 lifetimes. I gotta say, even though this game is definitely on the older side, it is so impressive the size of these enemies. Anywho, later, Kratos sees a pile of bodies on the ship, which triggers some very unpleasant memories. Apparently, Kratos did some awful things in his past. It's not clear exactly what he did, but Kratos has been serving the Olympian gods for 10 years so they can erase these god-awful memories from his mind. What did you do, Kratos? Come on, let us know. Later that night, Kratos talks to Athena, the goddess of wisdom, who asks Kratos to go to Athens. The city of Athens is under siege by Ares, the god of war, and Athena wants Kratos to save the city and kill Ares. For some reason, Zeus has forbidden the gods to fight each other, but Kratos is a mortal, so he's free to beat the hell out of Ares. Athena asks Kratos to complete this final task, and then the Olympian gods will forgive Kratos for what he did in the past. Sure, one last task, that's what they all say. Anyway, Kratos now sails toward the ancient city of Athens to kill the god of war. After a long ride, Kratos finally arrives at the gates of Athens. Turns out, Athena was right, and the entire city is filled with monsters.
No! Get away from me!
That's one ugly-ass bull. Before stepping into the city of Athens, Kratos must fight the monsters at the gates, and, well, Kratos slashes through several monsters and even gives some of them the dentist treatment. On his way, Kratos talks to Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love and beauty, who asks Kratos to kill Medusa. Medusa is the queen of the Gorgons, and she has the body of a serpent. Most importantly, Medusa has the ability to turn anybody into stone with her gaze. Aphrodite promises to reward Kratos with Medusa's gaze if he manages to kill the Serpent Lady. Sure, Medusa's gaze is a little pain in the ass for Kratos, but he still manages to cut her head off easily. And now, Kratos can use Medusa's head to turn his enemies into stone. You can say that this new ability rocks. Moving on, Kratos continues to hack and slash every enemy on his way. The dude even fights off some enemies while hanging on a rope. That isn't what you'd call an honorable death. But yeah, Kratos even reaches the entry point of Athens, where he sees a hologram of the Oracle of Athens. Interestingly, the Oracle wants to assist Kratos on this quest to kill Ares, and she asks Kratos to find her temple. There, the Oracle will show Kratos how to actually kill a god. That's reassuring. Moving on, Kratos enters the road leading to Athens, and he sees Ares. Whoa, are you gonna fight that? While Ares flexes his massive size and kills thousands of humans like they're bugs, Kratos talks about something Ares did long ago. Seems like Kratos is pissed at him. I wonder why. After setting his eyes on the building-sized target, Kratos enters the city of Athens and reaches the town square. There, he's welcomed by not one, but 3 Cyclops, one-eyed giants that are really powerful. But fortunately, Kratos is more threatening than these beasts, and he kills all 3. After a bit of running and climbing, Kratos reaches a rooftop in Athens where he sees a bunch of wraiths. These scary-ass monsters are troublesome, but not for Kratos, as he easily wipes the floor with them. Kratos even pulls off a badass wrestling move to defeat these monsters. Next, after jumping from one roof to another and killing God knows how many monsters, Kratos talks to the hologram of Zeus, the god of sky and thunder. Zeus says that he loves how Kratos has been yelling and killing everybody all up, but he still isn't strong enough to kill Ares. So, the god of sky and thunder rewards Kratos with Zeus's Fury as an early Christmas bonus. Zeus's Fury is a badass ability, and allows Kratos to hit enemies with lightning bolts and clear his path. After dropping some more bodies, Kratos sees the Oracle. Unfortunately, some bat demons, known as harpies, pick up the Oracle and take her for a ride before Kratos can talk to her.
No! Kratos! Kratos! Find me! You must find me! Athens depends on it!
Moving on, Kratos follows the bat demons and finds the Temple of Oracle, where a bunch of harpies attack him. So what? Kratos uses his Sharpies on these harpies and starts walking towards the temple. Okay, that was not my best. Right then, he sees an old gravedigger. Shockingly, the old man says that he's digging this grave for Kratos. The mysterious gravedigger also says that he will help Kratos when the time comes. Kratos now enters the temple, where he sees the Oracle being carried away by bat demons who drop her in the middle of the air. Fortunately, though, the Oracle grabs a rope, and Kratos uses his athleticism to save the woman. After being rescued, the Oracle tells Kratos it might be too late to save Athens now. She also asks if Kratos is here to truly save Athens. No, he's here for blood. Then the Oracle looks into Kratos' soul, which triggers a flashback. Apparently, Kratos was once a legendary captain in the Spartan army. That is why he's also called the Spartan. Regardless, Kratos killed many people in the name of Sparta, and almost every enemy feared Kratos. Then we see Lysandra, Kratos' wife, and their daughter, Calliope. Lysandra wanted Kratos to stop being a goddamn killing machine, but Kratos didn't want to give up on his quest. These memories are painful, so Kratos pushes the Oracle back and ends the flashback. The Oracle gets scared after seeing whatever Kratos did, but she still tells him about Pandora's box. Interestingly, this mysterious box is hidden by the gods in the Desert of Lost Souls. Why? Well, it's simple. Only Pandora's box can give Kratos the power to kill a god. It means Kratos must get it for his boss fight against Ares. Kratos follows the path to Pandora's box, which leads him to the city's sewers. However, the brave Spartan fights off the god-awful smell and the horde of monsters to find his way to the outside. And eventually, he reaches the Desert of Lost Souls. In the desert, Kratos talks to Athena through a statue who tells him that Pandora's box is indeed real. However, Kratos must find all 3 sirens, who are basically powerful female monsters with an awful fashion sense. These sirens will lead Kratos to Kronos, the last living titan. Apparently, Zeus has ordered Kronos to wander the desert endlessly, and is carrying Pandora's temple on his back. Kratos moves ahead and finds the first of 3 sirens by following her song. Kratos interrupts her vocal exercise by breaking her back, and the siren's soul attaches itself to a locked door. Just like that, Kratos kills the other 2 sirens, and their souls open up this locked door. Kratos enters a hallway through the door and finds a big-ass horn. He blows it, which clears the path to, wait for it, another horn. But before Kratos can blow this second horn, the 3 sirens arrive to fight the Spartan. Of course, Kratos kills the sirens, again, and then he blows the second horn to summon Kronos. Holy sh... That is indeed a Titan. Kratos jumps on Kronos' back, and it takes him 3 days to climb the mountain on Titan's back and reach Pandora's temple. Right after entering the temple, Kratos talks to Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and Zeus's daughter. Artemis says to Kratos that he needs more than just his blades of chaos to kill Ares, so Artemis gives him the blade that she once used to kill a Titan. Dude is surely the employee of the month at Mount Olympus. Artemis's blade is massive enough to make Kratos look like a dwarf, but it's also incredibly useful at killing enemies, and Kratos makes pretty good use of it. As Kratos moves ahead, he finds the coffin of the son of Pathos Verdes III. Pathos Verdes III was a loyal subject of the gods, and he was the chief architect of Pandora's temple. Apparently, Pandora's temple somehow claimed the life of Verdes' son, and the scary part is that Verdes was happy about this. Moving on, Kratos opens the coffin and pulls out the skeleton skull. Why? Kratos sees the bodies of soldiers killed by Ares' minions, which triggers a flashback where we see Kratos leading the Spartan army against the barbarians. Kratos and his army never lost before, but the barbarians are just built different and they massacre every soldier in Kratos' army. But as the barbarian king is about to kill Kratos, the Spartan asks Ares for help in exchange for his soul. Back to the present. Kratos uses the skull to open a locked door and finds his way to an arena. As soon as Kratos steps inside the area, he sees a Cerberus dog. A not-so-cute dog that transforms into a three-headed beast, but I guess his bark was worse than his bite as Kratos defeats it and several other Cerberus dogs quite easily. After that, Kratos continues climbing the mountain and finds a sacrificial chamber where he must sacrifice somebody to move ahead. There, Kratos sees some monsters trapped inside cages. Kratos learns that these monsters were once humans, so he lowers one of the cages. But Kratos doesn't want to free the half-dead soldier. In fact, he wants to use the soldier as a sacrifice, even though the soldier begs Kratos not to do this. What is up with that evil smile? Moving on, Kratos sacrifices the poor soldier to open the pathway to a hallway where he finds Poseidon's trident. This trident is more than just a fancy tool as it allows Kratos to breathe underwater. Right after that, Kratos gets the hell out of the hallway. Kratos goes through several underwater obstacles and eventually reaches the Hall of Hades, which is oozing lava from every corner. Right then, a group of centaurs arrives to fight Kratos. The centaurs are half man and half horse creatures with impressive ponytails. What shampoo do you use? However, Kratos is bald, so he gets jealous of the centaurs and butchers them all. Moving on, Kratos runs into Pandora's guardian, a gigantic bull who's wearing armor and has metallic claws. Kratos rips that heavy armor off the guardian's chest and kills the ugly monster with a lava bullet. After that, Kratos talks to Hades, the Olympian god of the underworld, and gets the army of Hades. This power-up allows Kratos to summon the souls of Hades and make them attack his enemies. Anyway, Kratos has now conquered the lower levels of Pandora's temple, so it's time for him to go to the higher level, where a couple of satyrs are waiting for him. Satyrs are some really pissed off goat-like creatures. They look scary as hell, but Kratos defeats them pretty easily. After that, we get another flashback where we see Kratos calling for Ares' help against the barbarians. Turns out, Ares listened to the dude and arrived on the battlefield to flex his fiery beard and hair. Of course, Ares killed the barbarians and made Kratos his disciple, chaining the Blades of Chaos to his hands. Okay, and now Kratos wants to destroy Ares with the same Blades of Chaos. Back to the present. Kratos moves ahead and enters the Cliffs of Madness. On the cliffs, Kratos plays a very expensive Tetris game and does some rock climbing. But all that action is cut short by another flashback. Apparently, after becoming the servant of Ares, Kratos killed an awful lot of innocent people. Then one day, Kratos tried to burn one of Athena's temples. The village's oracle tried to stop him, but Kratos killed everybody inside it. The dude didn't even see who he was killing because of all the smoke. And in the next instance, Kratos was shocked to see the faces of his last two victims. Wait, who did you kill? Well, the flashback ends there, and Kratos enters the architect's tomb. Inside the tomb, Kratos sees the carcass of the architect Verdes and his wife. Apparently, the architect sacrificed his sons in the service of the gods. Verdes' wife tried to stop him, so he murdered her as well, and then he killed himself. Jesus. Kratos rips off Verdes' wife's head and uses it to go deeper into the tomb. And finally, he finds the legendary Pandora's box. Athena then asks Kratos to bring Pandora's box to Athens to kill Ares. Now, while Kratos drags Pandora's box, which by the way is heavy as hell, out of the temple, Ares learns that Kratos has found the box. Then, Ares throws a massive wooden stick from Athens all the way to Pandora's temple and stabs Kratos through the chest.
You will rot in the depths of Hades for all eternity.
That's a pretty good throw, I gotta say. Before dying, Kratos thinks about the night at Athena's temple. The last two people that Kratos killed inside the temple were his own wife and daughter. Apparently, Ares tricks Kratos into killing his own family, so there's nothing left to hold Kratos back. Moving on, the Oracle who tried to stop Kratos cursed him to wear the ashes of his dead family on his skin. From that day, people gave another name to Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta. Back to the present, ugly minions of Ares grabs Pandora's box, and Kratos' soul starts falling deeper into the underworld. However, Kratos isn't dead until he falls into the river Styx, which will carry his soul to the ultimate resting place. But no, Kratos is a pretty stubborn bastard, so he grabs onto something and doesn't fall into the river. Now, Kratos fights a bunch of enemies, tries to get the hell out of the underworld, and as he moves forward, a rope drops down from the sky, so Kratos uses it to climb up. Eventually, he returns to the real world, right outside the temple of the Oracle. Surprisingly, Kratos comes out of the same hole the old gravedigger was digging outside of the temple. Okay, that's interesting. Of course, Kratos is confused, and he asks the old man how in the hell he knew that Kratos would die, but the mysterious old man asks Kratos to finish his task. The old dude also says that the gods are watching over Kratos, and they'll forgive his sins if they kill Ares. After that, the old man just vanishes. Moving on, Kratos enters the temple, where he sees the Oracle of Athens all bloodied up. Before dying, the Oracle tells Kratos that Ares has taken over Athens and it's already too late. Kratos moves ahead and sees Ares, who's shocked that Kratos has returned from the underworld. Ares is holding Pandora's box, and while the god of war is busy being all cocky, Kratos uses Zeus's lightning to free the box from Ares' hands. Finally, Kratos opens Pandora's box and becomes as massive as Ares with its power. Okay, it's gonna be a clash of giants, I see. Very Pacific Rim vibes. Ares grows deadly spider legs off his back, and he starts fighting Kratos. Expectedly, Kratos proves to be a tough enemy, so Ares, being the sicko that he is, shows a vision to Kratos. In this vision, Kratos' family is still alive, but they're being attacked by, well, a bunch of Kratos. Kratos tries to save his family, but Ares snatches away the Blades of Chaos from Kratos and uses the weapon to kill Spartan's family. Again. Back to reality, the Blades of Chaos are actually gone. But fortunately, Kratos sees a massive sword sent by the gods. Kratos picks up this sword, and after a long, tiring battle, he does manage to kill Ares. Kratos has completed his task, so he asks Athena to erase all the awful memories from his mind. Athena says that while the gods have forgiven what Kratos did in the past, they won't erase all the memories from Kratos' mind. Now, we're back to the opening sequence, where Kratos jumps into the sea because the gods didn't fulfill their promise. However, the gods don't let Kratos die. Instead, they offer him the throne of the god of war. Kratos is pissed, but he enters Mount Olympus anyway and becomes the new god of war. Oh, and also since Ares is dead, Kratos gets back his Blades of Chaos. Okay, so God of War 2 begins 13 years after Kratos killed Ares and became the new god of war. Godhood has made Kratos ruthless, and he's hell-bent on getting all of Greece under Spartan rule. Also, even after becoming a god, Kratos hasn't actually made any, friends on Olympus. Except for Athena, of course. They're pretty buddy-buddy. Athena tries to stop Kratos from killing everyone on his path like a bloody madman. She tells the Spartan that the Olympian gods are getting a bit sick of his behavior, but being the knucklehead that he is, Kratos tells Athena to mind her damn business and jumps into the battle to finish off another Greek city. After jumping into battle and steamrolling the city in his Colossus form, Kratos notices an eagle whom he believes is Athena. You're in for a surprise, dude. Before the Spartan can do more damage to the city, the eagle takes some of Kratos' godly powers and transfers them to the massive statue, bringing it to life. Back to human size, Kratos makes his way to kill the damn statue. In the middle of the fight, Zeus offers some help to Kratos and gives him the Blade of Olympus. It's the same divine weapon that Zeus used to end the Great War and kill the Titans. But there's a catch. Kratos must infuse the blade with his remaining godly powers to fight the statue. Moving on, Kratos transfers his power to the blade and fights the giant statue like it's another Tuesday. However, a hand of the giant statue falls on the cocky Kratos as he mocks the Olympian gods, which injures him pretty badly. Kratos realizes he needs his power back from the Blade of Olympus to survive. As he walks towards it, the eagle reveals its true identity, and it turns out it's Zeus. Apparently, Zeus was the one who stole Kratos' power and brought that statue to life. Kratos is obviously powerless, so Zeus asks the Spartan to surrender, but Kratos tells Zeus to buzz off with his perfect abs. Now Kratos tries to fight Zeus, but it's of no use, and Zeus eventually kills Kratos with the Blade of Chaos.
It did not have to be this way, my son. This path is of your choosing.
Of course, Kratos is now dragged to the underworld by Hades. However, it's still not time for Kratos to rest. There are still gods to kill, and before Hades can claim Kratos' soul, Gaia reaches out to Kratos. Gaia is the mother of Titans, and the great-grandmother of the Olympian gods, and she's eager to kill Zeus as well. So Gaia saves Kratos and tells him to find the Sisters of Fate, the primordial beings who have the power to control time itself. The Titan goddess tells Kratos that he can defeat the Olympian gods with the power of these sisters. Now, the ex-god of war climbs out of the pit and sees his fellow Spartans lying around, also butchered by Zeus. In the next moment, Kratos sees Pegasus, a winged horse sent by Gaia to help Kratos reach the Sisters of Fate. While Kratos enjoys his fancy new ride, Gaia tells Kratos that he must go back in time to the moment Zeus betrayed him. To reach the sisters, Kratos needs to go through the wind titan Typhon's lair, who's imprisoned in a mountain. So Kratos hacks some griffins while yee-hawing on Pegasus and finally reaches Typhon's lair. However, Pegasus crash lands in Typhon's lair and gets stuck. Inside the lair, Kratos meets Prometheus, the Titan god of knowledge, who's facing an eternity-long torture. Basically, he gets his flesh eaten by a bird during the day and heals during the night. Of course, this entire thing is sponsored by Zeus. Why? It's simple, and actually one of my favorite myths. Prometheus cared so much about humans, and Zeus didn't like it. This myth is reinterpreted a lot of different ways, but most commonly, Prometheus brought fire to humans. Prometheus begs Kratos to end his suffering in the fires of Olympus, and Kratos does help the poor man. In the middle of all this, Kratos also stabs Typhon in the eye because the Titan is not happy to see Kratos and even tries to kill him. That was clearly an overreaction. Fortunately, Kratos doesn't kill Typhon and injures him just the right amount. Also, after killing Prometheus in the fires of Olympus, Kratos gets Rage of the Titans, which basically doubles his anger among everything else. Finally, Kratos uses the Rage to free Pegasus and then flies away towards the Sisters of Fate. Moving on, Kratos almost reaches the Island of Creation, which is the headquarters of the Sisters, but as Kratos flies toward the island, an enemy called the Dark Rider knocks Kratos off Pegasus, which also kills his horsey. Oh no, not Pegasus. Kratos believes in an eye for an eye, so he ruthlessly kills the Dark Rider and his mount and free falls onto the island. Once Kratos has somehow safely landed, Gaia enlightens Kratos on a little family drama that led to the Great War. Apparently, an oracle prophesied the children of Kronos would one day rise against him. So, the stupid Titan thought it was a good idea to eat all of his children and keep them locked inside his belly. Kronos was about to do the same with Zeus. Zeus is the son of Kronos? Well, that's interesting. Anyway, Zeus's mother, Rhea, sent Zeus away from Kronos' reach and instead fed a bunch of rocks to the Titan. Dude was so massive that he didn't even notice that he was eating rocks instead of his child. It was the once compassionate Gaia who raised Zeus. Years later, Zeus returned all grown up and still not healed from daddy issues. He thanked the Titans by declaring war on them and wiping them out. Back to the present, Kratos moves ahead to find the Steeds of Time. Apparently, the Steeds have the power to even move the Island of Creation. And guess what? It was Kronos who gifted the Steeds to the Sisters of Fate to change his fate. Bummer for him, it did not work. After making his way to the Steeds of Time, Kratos comes across Theseus, Poseidon's son, who wants to stop Kratos from reaching the next level. And after a brief roasting session, the two get down to business and start their godly brawl. The fight ends with Kratos smashing Theseus' head in and leaving him for dead. Now, as Kratos moves towards his next location, Grandpa Kronos makes a surprise appearance. Surprisingly, Kronos doesn't want to fight Kratos. Instead, the Titan wants to help him. Kronos tells Kratos that he hid the last bit of his magic before Zeus got to him, and the Titan hands over that power to Kratos. The gift is Kronos' rage. Seriously, why does everybody keep giving Kratos more rage? He doesn't need it. What he needs is therapy. Afterwards, Kratos slashes off several enemy limbs and solves some puzzles to unlock the Amulet of the Fates ability, which allows Kratos to slow time. Now, as Kratos gets close to the Sisters of Fate location, these sisters send warnings and try to get into his head, but it doesn't budge him at all. Kratos is almost at the Temple of the Sisters of Fate now, and then he sees the Barbarian King, yes, the one from the first God of War game. The Barbarian King is also looking for the Sisters of Fate to be resurrected. However, Kratos beats the crap out of the Barbarian King with his own hammer and kills him. He got bodied by Kratos twice. Once that's done, Kratos meets Perseus, the demigod son of Zeus, who's also seeking the Sisters of Fate. Apparently, Perseus wants to resurrect his love with the sisters' power. Perseus challenges Kratos, thinking it's another one of the tests to reach the sisters. Well, Kratos gets right onto it and kills Perseus quite easily. That's not a good death, is it? Moving forward, Kratos encounters Icarus, a dude who wants to prevent his death and seems a bit, loony.
It is my fate to make it across, none other!
This is my test!
Sadly, Kratos brings Icarus back to reality using his fists. Kinda classic Kratos. After beating the madness out of him, Kratos takes Icarus's wings. Using the newly acquired wings, Kratos travels to the underworld and sees the Titan Atlas carrying the world on his shoulders. Atlas tries to squish Kratos like a bug with his fingers, and still angry at Kratos for putting him in this position. But hey, it was all in the past when Kratos was a bellboy of Olympus. Kratos convinces Atlas that things have changed, so the Titan gives Kratos a part of his power, the Atlas Quake. The new power allows Kratos to slam the ground and create earthquakes. Moving on, Kratos encounters one of his Spartan soldiers who tells him that Zeus flattened Sparta right after he killed Kratos. Now the soldier seeks the sisters to undo the damage. Get in line, dude. A lot of people want to talk to the sisters. They're popular. Kratos is obviously pissed off, so he curses Zeus at the top of his lungs and challenges him. But the Spartan is challenged by the Kraken. The Kraken is a giant sea monster that's like really powerful and also absolutely hideous. I don't know what it is about this specific monster, but it always gave me nightmares as a kid. A massive octopus under the water, and you're on a ship? That's terrifying. Obviously this fight isn't easy, but Kratos eventually slaps the beast down and crushes its head. Of course, there's no time to enjoy the fresh caught fish, so Kratos moves forward and reaches the Temple of Sisters of Fate. Finally, in the temple, Kratos meets the first goddess of fate, who just isn't ready to help Kratos change his destiny. After finding absolutely no common ground, Kratos starts fighting the goddess. Right then, another goddess of fate joins the fight, and the sisters tag team against Kratos. However, Kratos takes on the fight like a goddamn beast. Eventually, Kratos kills the sister duo and makes his way to the third sister of fate, Clotho. This Jabba the Hutt lookalike controls the threads of time, so this is where Kratos needs to be to travel back in time and change his past. Clotho isn't the listening type really, so she starts fighting Kratos, and well, Kratos sends the third goddess of fate to the afterlife as well. Now, Kratos basically uses a TV screen to travel back to the moment where Zeus betrayed him. Zeus is shocked to see a second Kratos and thinks that the sisters helped Kratos. But Kratos clears the confusion that he has helped the sisters to the afterlife. The fight begins, and Kratos throws everything he has to win. However, when it doesn't seem to work on the king of the gods, Kratos gets crafty and surrenders, only to catch Zeus off guard. Just as Kratos is about to kill Zeus, Athena jumps in between to save Zeus and sacrifices her life. Oh my god, why? Zeus escapes, and before dying, Athena tells Kratos that Zeus is Kratos' father. What? Athena reveals that Zeus fears meeting the same fate as his father Kronos. This is what drove Zeus to kill Kratos earlier. After the mind-blowing revelation, Athena begs Kratos not to kill Zeus, as killing him will mean the destruction of Olympus. But Kratos is not open to negotiations at the moment, and he leaves right after Athena's death. Finally, Kratos travels further back in time to bring Gaia and the other Titans from the Great War to his timeline. And once this is done, Kratos and the Titans march on to Mount Olympus to defeat Zeus. Before we get to the conclusion of this exciting trilogy, we do have to detour into some smaller games. God of War Betrayal is a much smaller game that doesn't offer much in terms of story, but hey, it does offer something. So yeah, let's talk about this one pretty quickly. Basically, Betrayal is set right after the first God of War game, which means Kratos has just become the new God of War. However, instead of being a good puppet to the Olympus gods, Kratos continues to destroy cities in the name of Sparta. So the gods decide to teach Kratos some manners by sending Argos after him. Argos is a hideous, multi-eyed beast created by Hera, Zeus's wife. Of course, Kratos fights the beast and defeats him, but right then, a mysterious assassin arrives and kills Argos. Anyway, Zeus is even more pissed at Kratos, thinking that he has killed Argos, so he sends Syrinx, the son of Hermes, to stop the Baldy. But yeah, Kratos kills Syrinx as well. However, Kratos still doesn't figure out the true identity of the assassin who made him look bad in front of Zeus by killing Argos. So, I don't know, I kind of wonder who it is. Okay, now it's time to talk about Chains of Olympus, which is set before the first God of War title. Means we'll see how exactly Kratos served the Olympus gods after he killed his own family. The story is important, especially if you want to understand why exactly Kratos is so, well, pissed off at the gods. So the game starts off with Kratos arriving in the city of Attica. Apparently, the Persian army has invaded the city, so the gods ask Kratos to deal with the situation. Right after stepping outside the boat, the first thing that Kratos has to fight is the Serpent King Basilisk. That is one ugly lizard. However, the basilisk runs away before Kratos can kill it, and the Spartan learns that the Persians have brought this ugly thing to cleanse Greece. Kratos keeps on chasing the monster, and he kills a lot of people on his way, including the Persian king. The dude even takes out some time for a little pleasure in the middle of all that. But yeah, Kratos eventually catches up to the basilisk. After a long fight, he finally kills this crazy lizard. Sadly though, before Kratos can celebrate this victory, the sun suddenly falls from the sky. Now, the entire world is covered with darkness. So Morpheus, the god of dreams, takes advantage of the situation and covers the world with a thick black fog. Okay, so figure out what happened to the sun and then defeat Morpheus. Got it. Kratos now enters the city of Marathon, which is filled with the minions of Morpheus. The black fog has made these monsters more powerful, and on top of that, the fog also affects Kratos' mind. He starts hearing a strange melody, but still, Kratos powers through all the monsters and even defeats a damn Sabretooth. Moving on, Kratos arrives at the Temple of Helios, the Titan god of sun, to ask him, hey dude, what the hell? As soon as Kratos enters the temple, Athena tells the Spartan that Helios has disappeared from the sky, and this temple is basically Helios' chariot, but without the sun god. It has fallen from the sky. To make things worse, Morpheus has taken advantage of the situation and covered everything with the black fog, which, surprisingly, has also affected the gods. Now, Kratos must find Helios to bring back the frickin' sun. Inside the temple, Eos, the Titan goddess of dawn, tells Kratos that her brother Helios has been kidnapped by the Titan Atlas. Apparently, someone freed Atlas from the pits of Tartarus, the region below the underworld. And since Atlas now has Helios, the Titan can take the power of the sun for himself. That's probably not good. Of course, fighting Atlas is not going to be easy, so Eos asks Kratos to take the sun shield from Helios' throne, and after that, the Spartan must find Eos by walking through the gates of Olympus. After some running and solving puzzles, Kratos finally enters the cave of Olympus, where he meets Eos, who desperately needs to go shopping for some new clothes. Eos is growing weak because of the sun's absence, and she asks Kratos to find the primordial fire, which is basically the source of Helios' power. The primordial fire will lead Kratos to Helios, so Kratos takes it. The fire gives Kratos the ability to reflect attacks using the sun shield and throw solar flares at enemies. Pretty cool. Kratos now returns to the Temple of Helios, where he again hears that strange melody. This time though, Kratos realizes that it's the voice of his daughter, Calliope. Kratos keeps moving, and uses the primordial fire and the sun shield to release the fire steeds, which basically carry Helios' chariot every day. And now these fire steeds will guide Kratos to Helios. The steeds carry Kratos to the underworld, so that's where we must find Helios. Okay, that's not good. In the underworld, Kratos meets Charon, a ferryman who carries the souls of the dead on a goddamn boat, and the ride is not even scenic. Anyway, Kratos isn't exactly dead. He basically arrived in the underworld without an invitation, so Charon starts fighting the dude. Surprisingly, Kratos loses the fight against Charon. That's new. Charon then drops Kratos in the River of Styx, which carries Kratos to the depths of Tartarus. Wait, isn't that where Titan Atlas was being kept? Interesting. Moving ahead, Kratos finds himself chained on a wall, so he breaks free and keeps on killing enemies. After a while, Kratos sees a giant statue of Zeus wearing a gauntlet, which is forged to chain the Titans in Tartarus. And hey, the gauntlet looks fancy as hell and packs a heavy punch, so Kratos takes it without asking for permission. Inside the pits, Kratos learns that Zeus defeated the Titans during the Great War. After that, Zeus chained the Titans in Tartarus so that they could be tortured for eternity. No wonder the Titans are pissed. However, these Titans can't break free on their own, so Kratos realizes that someone may have freed the Titan Atlas. Thanks to the gauntlet and his incredible mountain climbing skills, Kratos gets the hell out of Tartarus to challenge Charon one more time. This time, Kratos beats the hell out of Charon, and even cuts his body in half. Jesus, Kratos forgot that there's a stop button, dude. Okay, so after defeating Charon, Kratos takes his ship and travels deep into the underworld and reaches close to the Temple of Persephone. But as Kratos is about to get off the boat, he sees his daughter Calliope, singing that same melody that he's been hearing. Kratos calls out for his daughter, but Calliope runs inside the temple. Kratos follows his daughter inside, and he learns some very interesting things about Persephone, Hades' wife. Apparently, Persephone was the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of earth. Persephone was carried by Hades to the underworld to be his wife, and Demeter refused to bear fruit until Hades returned her daughter. Zeus agreed because, well, everyone needs fruit. However, Persephone already tasted the pomegranate, the fruit of Hades. So Persephone was cursed to spend half a year with Hades in the underworld. Now, she returns to Earth during spring and rules the underworld during the fall. Interesting story, but Kratos has his daughter to find. So he keeps on following Calliope's melody and reaches the groves of Persephone. There, he meets Persephone, who tells Kratos that she's also pissed at Zeus and Hades for tricking her all those years back. She also tells Kratos that Calliope lives with pure souls in the Elysium Fields, which is some sort of utopia. Of course, Kratos wants to see his daughter, but first, he must become worthy of the Elysium. Persephone asks Kratos to cast his weapon on the Forsaken Tree, which will cleanse Kratos of his past sins. Then Kratos can enter the Elysium. Hell nah, it can't be that easy. Anyway, Kratos uses Blades of Chaos on the Forsaken Tree, and it takes away Kratos' sins and his weapons. Finally, Kratos walks into the Elysium Fields through a portal, where he meets Calliope. Of course, Kratos is happy, and the dude looks like a normal man. Unfortunately though, Persephone tricked Kratos into giving away his weapons. Shockingly, she was the one who released Atlas, who will soon destroy the pillar holding the world. Of course, destroying the pillar will also kill every god, including Persephone, but she's ready to die if it means killing the Olympian gods. Oh, also the Elysium Fields will also perish, which means his daughter will be lost, like, forever. So you can say Kratos isn't exactly happy. However, the Spartan no longer has his weapons to fight Persephone, so Kratos decides to push his daughter away to get his powers back, along with his sins. Man, that sucks. After that, Kratos heads on to fight Persephone while Atlas tries to destroy the world pillar. In the middle of the fight, Kratos uses Zeus's gauntlet to chain Atlas. Persephone tries to stop Kratos, but the Spartan punches the goddess so damn hard that it kills her instantly. On the other hand, Atlas is cursed to carry the entire world on his shoulders for eternity. Atlas is obviously pissed, and he tells Kratos that the gods at Olympus will one day break their promise to Kratos as well. Helios is also free, by the way, so the sun returns to its original place, and Morpheus flees back to the darkness. God of War 3 kicks off with an arrogant speech from Zeus. The dude is talking about how he ended the Great War by defeating the Titans and establishing the rule of Mount Olympus. But now, a bunch of bloodthirsty Titans are trying to defeat the Olympus gods by climbing the damn mountain. Meanwhile, Zeus, Hades, Helios, Hermes, Poseidon, and Hercules are standing on top of Mount Olympus like a bunch of douchebags. Meanwhile, our buddy Kratos is also hitchhiking on Gaia to climb the mountain. Of course, Mount Olympus isn't a picnic spot, and the gods can't let the Titans reach the top. So Poseidon jumps straight down and knocks one of the Titans off the mountain. Then he starts pulling down the rest of the Titans by grabbing their legs with some sort of tendrils. So Kratos decides to hurry the heck up and free Gaia, but a creature called the Hippocamp appears to make things difficult for Kratos. The Hippocamps are massive horse-like creatures created by Poseidon. Yeah, this is one scary monster. But Kratos has no time for this BS, so he opens up the Hippocamp's chest and stabs it with a goddamn tree. But the fight ain't over yet, as Poseidon himself arrives to fight Kratos and Gaia. For now, Poseidon is fighting Kratos by creating a massive watery image of himself in some sort of chariot. Expectedly, Poseidon acts cocky and tries to defeat both Kratos and Gaia, but Gaia punches Poseidon's water form. This allows Kratos to push out Poseidon's human form, and now these two can fight directly. Sorry, not fight. This allows Kratos to beat the crap out of Poseidon. And there's nothing better than a POV. Kratos then goes into full Mortal Kombat mode and ends Poseidon with brutality. Man, can we even show that? Poseidon is the god of the seas, so his death triggers a tsunami which covers almost every part of Greece. Right after that, Gaia takes Kratos to the top of Mount Olympus where he sees Zeus. And before you know it, Zeus throws a massive lightning strike at Kratos and Gaia, knocking them off the mountain. Both Kratos and Gaia start falling, but fortunately, Gaia grabs a massive mountain rock. But guess what? She refuses to help Kratos, saying he was only a pawn for the Titans and that they no longer need him to defeat Zeus. God damn it, Gaia. While Gaia stays on the mountain, Kratos falls into the river Styx while also losing the blade of Olympus. Kratos is injured and, of course, pissed off, but he keeps swimming and finally reaches the realm of Hades. There, the Spartan meets the astral form of Athena, who wants to help Kratos. Kratos is obviously having a hard time trusting Athena because, she sacrificed her life to save Zeus. However, Athena tells Kratos that he must find and destroy the flame of Olympus to weaken Zeus. She also repairs and upgrades the blades of Athena to earn Kratos' trust and calls these new blades, Blades of Exile. Athena tells Kratos that these blades will also lead him to the flame. That's not all, as the new blades also allow Kratos to summon the spirits of his dead Spartan soldiers. Is Leonidas from 300 among those dead soldiers? No? Alright. Deep inside the underworld, Kratos meets Pirithous, a demigod who is trapped in hell by Hades to suffer endlessly. Pirithous asks Kratos to help in exchange for the bow of Apollo, which is indeed a very powerful weapon. However, instead of helping Pirithous, Kratos kills the demigod and then takes the bow of Apollo. Okay. The new bow is really useful, as it allows Kratos to strike his enemies with fiery arrows. Later, Kratos encounters Hephaestus, the god of smithery and craftswork, who's forced to work tirelessly for the other Olympian gods. Kratos asks Hephaestus if he knows about the flame of Olympus, which he does. However, he refuses to help Kratos find the flame and asks the Spartan to mind his goddamn business. Kratos keeps on moving ahead, and at one point, the spirit of a little girl talks to him. She knows who Kratos is and asks him to free her, but the Spartan isn't interested. At the same time, Kratos also finds the lost blade of Olympus. Thanks to all the deadly weapons, Kratos is able to enter the Palace of Hades, where he finally meets Hades. Hades is a really hideous god, but Kratos doesn't scare easily. The Spartan pulls out the chunks of Hades' flesh with his blade and ultimately destroys his mask. Not only that, but he also snatches the claws of Hades from the god. Hades uses his claws weapons to rip out the soul of a human, so Kratos uses the same weapon to pull out Hades' soul. Kratos basically pulled an Uno reverse card on the god of death. Shockingly, Kratos not only kills Hades, but he also absorbs the god's soul, which gives him the ability to breathe in the river Styx. Also, the claws of Hades allow Kratos to summon the cursed souls to fight his enemies. So, yeah, the benefits of killing the god of the underworld are pretty endless. After bodying Hades, Kratos again meets Hephaestus, who tells Kratos that Zeus sent him to the underworld after Ares' death. Not only that, but Zeus also took away Hephaestus' daughter, Pandora. Since that day, Hephaestus has been trying to recreate Pandora. Yeah, it's the same girl whose soul has been talking to Kratos and asking for help. After throwing such a sad story at Kratos, Hephaestus asks the Spartan for help to find his daughter. However, Kratos isn't keen on finding a little girl in the underworld, so he leaves and finds his way to the city of Olympia through a portal. The first thing Kratos sees after arriving in the city of Olympia is Gaia. That's right, the same Gaia who betrayed Kratos, and now she asks Kratos to help her climb up. Yeah, definitely gonna lend you a hand. Obviously, Kratos is super pissed at Gaia, so instead of helping the Titan, he cuts off her hand, and Gaia falls down the mountain. Yeah, saw that one coming from a mile away. Elsewhere, Helios is fighting Perseus, the Titan of Destruction, on his chariot. The Titan is fighting the sun god while trying to climb the mountain, so yeah, he's not having a great time. So Kratos shoots down Helios' chariot with a ballista, and the Titan grabs the sun god and throws him at the mountain like a pebble. Right after that, Kratos finds Helios lying on the ground all bloodied up like a mortal. The dude can't even move. So a bunch of soldiers try to protect the sun god from Kratos. Even a sick Cyclops monster tries to stop Kratos, but they haven't played the other God of War games, so they don't know that it's no use fighting him. As expected, Kratos defeats the minions and confronts Helios. Kratos asks Helios about the Flame of Olympus, but instead of answering the damn question, Helios tries to blind Kratos with sunlight. However, Kratos walks ahead and beats the crap out of him, and finally, the Spartan rips apart Helios' face from his body. Holy sh**. That is brutal. Since Helios is dead, the sun just leaves the world and goes for a permanent vacation. Also, Kratos can now use Helios' head to blind his enemies with sunlight. Oh my god, he's using the sun god as a torch. Kratos moves ahead and reaches some sort of vents, and he decides it's about time he uses his Icarus wings to fly up. However, as soon as Kratos reaches the top, the Titan Perseus takes a swing at him. So the Spartan gives a befitting reply to the Titan by stabbing his eye with the blade of Olympus. Kratos 2, Titan 0. Once that's done, Kratos flies up and reaches the caverns of Olympus, where he meets Hermes.
Where are you off to today? Kill any family members lately? Oh, that's right. You're off to kill your father, Zeus.
Yeah, roasting the god of war, not a bright idea, I'd say. After acting like a cocky stand-up comedian, Hermes runs away, and Kratos follows him and finds the Flame of Olympus. However, Kratos is surprised to see Pandora's box sitting on top of the flame. Athena now arrives and says that Kratos can't touch the flame because it will turn him into a crispy snack. Athena now tells Kratos the true story about Pandora's box. Apparently, after Zeus defeated the Titans in the Great War, he locked all the evils born from that battle inside a box crafted by Hephaestus. What's interesting is that Hephaestus also created a key to open this box, and that key is none other than Pandora. That's right. Pandora isn't actually Hephaestus' daughter, she's simply a being created by this myth god. Anyway, after Kratos opened Pandora's box to defeat Ares, Zeus almost pissed his pants thinking that this power could also be used to defeat him. So, he placed the box in the flame so nobody could touch it. Not only that, but Zeus took away Pandora, the only key to open Pandora's box. Zeus has locked Pandora away in some sort of labyrinth. So now, Kratos must find Pandora to unlock Pandora's box and use its power to destroy the flame and Zeus. Okay, simple enough. After doing the crash course on Pandora's box, Kratos again sees Hermes, who's still cracking jokes. Hermes can run really fast, so Kratos has a hard time catching up to the arrogant bastard. However, at one point, Kratos destroys a massive statue on which Hermes is standing, which makes him fall. Kratos now fights Hermes and beats up his arrogant ass. After that, Kratos does his thing and cuts off both of Hermes' legs. With Hermes dead, Kratos takes the god's boots, which allow him to run really fast. Kratos keeps on looking for Pandora, and reaches some sort of area where he meets Zeus's wife Hera. Kratos asks Hera about Pandora, but the alcoholic goddess refuses to answer. Instead, she orders Hercules to kill Kratos. Surprisingly, Kratos doesn't want to fight Hercules. The dude is just not interested. However, Hercules is jealous that Kratos was always Zeus's favorite, and he's really proud of his bigger muscles, so Hercules decides to fight anyway. Thanks to the deadly gauntlets, Hercules puts up a pretty good fight. However, at one point, the idiot demigod starts talking to Hera, thinking Kratos has been defeated. Kratos uses the golden opportunity to stab Hercules and take away his gauntlets. The Spartan then uses the same gauntlets to bash Hercules' face until Olympus files a noise complaint. Once Hercules truly becomes a myth, Kratos gets his gauntlet as a souvenir. Yeah, the dude's stacking up on weapons. Next, Kratos meets Hephaestus to ask him about the labyrinth holding Pandora. The Smith god instantly realizes that Kratos will expose Pandora to the flame, which will eventually kill her. However, Hephaestus has hated Zeus for taking Pandora away, so he offers Kratos an alternative. Apparently, Hephaestus can craft a weapon for Kratos, but for this, he needs the Olympus stone that can only be found in the pit of Tartarus. Of course, Kratos agrees and enters the pit where he meets Kronos. Yes, the Titan who's been carrying Pandora's temple on his back. Shockingly, Zeus picked up Kronos from the Desert of Lost Souls and left the Titan in the pits after Kratos opened Pandora's box. Kronos was basically transferred to Hell by the upper management because of Kratos. Also, the Titan is pissed because Kratos killed Gaia, so he starts fighting the Spartan. Kronos tries to squish Kratos like a bug, but he ain't a bug. He's the damn god of war. So Kratos fights back, literally pulls out Kronos' nail, and when Kronos eats Kratos, the Spartan opens up the Titan's stomach from the inside. Kratos doesn't stop there, as he pierces Kronos in the chin with a nail and seals the deal by stabbing the Titan in the forehead. Jesus. During all of this, Kratos finds the Olympus stone and takes it to Hephaestus. Kratos is pissed that Hephaestus led him to the pits, knowing full well that Kronos will try to kill the Spartan. However, he lets the Smith god create a weapon for him. Doesn't take long for Hephaestus to create the Nemesis Whip for Kratos. It's a weapon that can send electric shocks to enemies. Shockingly though, Hephaestus betrays Kratos and tries to electrocute him by manipulating the weapon's power. Well, Kratos pays back in full by killing Hephaestus quite instantly. The gods are dying like flies. Kratos stumbles upon Hera, who is probably drunk a bar. She's furious at Kratos for killing the gods and basically every damn thing around him. However, she thinks that Kratos can't get out of her garden, which is actually a maze. Kratos almost finds his way out, but then he sees Hera, and Kratos simply tries to walk away without hurting the drunk goddess, but Hera uses a not-so-nice word for Pandora, so Kratos breaks her neck. After that, Kratos finds his way out of the maze. Now the Spartan is back to the caverns where the Scorpion Queen, or Scorpius, attacks him. This dude has defeated several titans, so obviously a mildly massive scorpion is no match for Kratos. Kratos kills Scorpius pretty easily and gets the Boreas' Ice Storm, which allows him to use Icy Breath. Also, Boreas' Ice Storm is the key to unlocking the labyrinth that holds Pandora, so it's pretty convenient. Finally, after a series of battles, Kratos unlocks the labyrinth and finds Pandora, who's obviously happy to be free. She leads Kratos out of the labyrinth and gets trapped inside of some massive aquarium, but Kratos saves her again. Honestly, it kinda seems like Kratos has truly started to care about this girl. So we're in the endgame now, and Pandora tells Kratos that the chains of balance, which are likely massive chains, maintain the balance between Olympus and the underworld, and Kratos must break these chains to truly shake Olympus. So Kratos travels all the way to the underworld and breaks them. After that, Kratos takes Pandora to the flame of Olympus, and Pandora herself was ready to touch the flame so she could open Pandora's box. However, Kratos just isn't ready to sacrifice the child. But then Zeus arrives, flexing his impressive abs. He grabs Pandora and throws her towards a rock like she's some object. Pandora gets injured, and Kratos gets pissed. Like, really pissed. So he starts fighting Zeus with all his might. During all this chaos, Pandora gets near the flame to unlock the box, and the box starts pulling her in. Kratos grabs the kid to save her life, but Pandora wants to fulfill her purpose and help Kratos defeat Zeus. Eventually, Kratos leaves Pandora's hand, and she's killed by the flame. The flame is now gone. So Kratos opens up Pandora's box, but it turns out the box is empty. You're telling me Pandora gave up her life for nothing? Of course, Zeus has something to do with this, so he starts laughing and leaves the place. Kratos follows Zeus to the outside and starts fighting him again, but their fight gets interrupted by, wait for it, Gaia. Okay, out of all people, she is the one who survived Kratos. Gaia tries to kill both Zeus and Kratos, but they jump inside Gaia's body and find her heart. After throwing but many punches, Kratos eventually stabs Zeus and Gaia's heart with the blade of Olympus. Of course, Gaia is dead, for real this time, but Zeus returns in his astral form and tries to choke Kratos to death. And Kratos dies. Well, almost, as Pandora's spirit helps Kratos let go of his past and find hope. So Kratos beats Zeus's astral form so hard that it returns to its body. Finally, Kratos punches Zeus until he's actually dead. It's so brutal that they censored it with blood. However, since Zeus is dead, almost every part of Greece gets destroyed, and then Athena arrives in her astral form and asks Kratos to give her the power of Pandora's box. Kratos is like, "What the heck are you talking about? The box is empty." Then Athena explains that when Zeus was leaving every evil from the Great War inside the Pandora's box, Athena locked an even greater power inside of it. That power was hope. Back when Kratos opened the box to kill Ares, the evils from the box corrupted the minds of every god. This is why they went nuts after Ares' death. Kratos, on the other hand, somehow got hope, Athena's weapon. Now the half-dead goddess wants her weapon back so that she can lead the world. Instead of giving Athena the power, Kratos stabs himself with the blade of Olympus, which unleashes hope into the world. Kratos drops to the ground, and Athena thinks that he's dead, so she leaves. What a cliffhanger. But before we find out what happens next, we're going to go back to right after the end of the first game in Ghost of Sparta. After killing Ares and becoming the new god of war, you'd think that Kratos would live out his days with a full heart and a happy ending. But no. Kratos is haunted by visions of his long-lost brother, Deimos, and his mother, so he sets out to seek some answers. And he first heads out to the Temple of Poseidon, which lies in Atlantis. Once in the Temple of Poseidon, Kratos sees a projection of his younger days with his brother. After moving a bit further inside, Kratos sees Callisto, his mother, lying on the ground. She reveals that his father brought her here. But the shocker comes when Kratos learns that his brother, Deimos, is still alive. He was abducted as a child and has remained trapped in Death's domain ever since. Now, Kratos must go to the Temple of Ares in Sparta, where he will learn how to free his brother. But before leaving, Kratos must know who his father is. Shockingly, just as Callisto reveals Kratos' relationship to Zeus, the poor woman is transformed into a large, ugly creature by a curse the gods placed on her. And now, Kratos has to put her out of her misery. Yeah, I understand why Kratos hates the gods so much. As Kratos moves forward, he finds the Titan Thera, who's trapped inside a volcano, and begs Kratos to free her in exchange for her power. Reluctantly, Kratos frees Thera from the volcano and gets Thera's Bane, an ability that allows Kratos to add fire to the blades of Athena. While Kratos is hell-bent on saving his brother from his torment, a giant sea monster attacks him. However, the fight ends pretty quickly when Kratos finally kills it inside the volcano. But because of their fight, the volcano erupts, destroying Atlantis and sinking it to the bottom of the sea. Jeez. Full of anger, with the fresh knowledge about his brother being alive, Kratos reaches the Temple of Athena and starts to curse her statue. Can't really blame the guy at this point. However, he's in no mood to hear Athena's excuses and smashes her statue as she begins to speak. Clearly, Kratos has no intention of sparing the gods and is surely going to take his revenge after rescuing his brother. However, amidst all this destruction, Kratos finds a soldier who's on the brink of death and has a message for the Ghost of Sparta. I know, quite the dramatic way to send a message. The message is sort of a warning to keep Kratos from moving ahead. But of course, the Spartan has no intention of stopping. Moving on, Kratos finally learns why Deimos was kidnapped. Turns out the Oracle foretold that the destruction of Olympus would not come from Titans, but a marked warrior would destroy the city. And guess who had marks all over his body? Yeah, Deimos. Now inside the Temple of Ares, Kratos fights the ghost of his younger self, his guilt in physical form. He smashes the ghost's brains into the wall and takes the skull of Ceres. This is the artifact that will allow Kratos to get into the underworld, where Deimos is trapped. The way to Death's domain is through Atlantis, and the city's underwater and destroyed thanks to Kratos. By the way, Poseidon is pretty mad at Kratos for doing this. Obviously. Once again, Athena tries to stop Kratos, saying his brother was a threat to Olympus. And during that conversation, Kratos realized that Athena was there when Deimos was kidnapped. Kratos tells Athena to literally shut the f up and get lost. He'll save Deimos himself. Deep inside Death's domain, Kratos finally finds his long-lost brother, and it seems like he's gone insane after years of imprisonment. Not quite. Turns out he's just angry at Kratos for not saving him then. The brothers fight it out, but before they can make peace, Thanatos, the god of death, pops out of nowhere and takes off with Deimos. To save his brother, Kratos jumps off the cliff to where Thanatos took him. He finds Deimos hanging by a cliff and pulls him up. Now, as it is with brothers, they fight and forget. The two fight Thanatos. But before the fight, Thanatos talks about the Oracle's prophecy that the marked warrior will be the destroyer of Olympus. However, he now believes that it is not Deimos the Oracle predicted. It's Kratos. Well, it matters little now, as Kratos is already full of hatred against the gods because all they did to him and, to his family, so anyway. Deimos gets badly hurt during the fight, and right then Kratos unleashes his anger. The dude stabs and throws Thanatos around like a rag doll, ultimately killing the primordial being. Sadly though, Deimos doesn't survive his injuries, and dies right in front of Kratos. Kratos buries his brother's body, and vows to destroy gods for what they've done. Okay, so God of War Ascension is a prequel that is set before the very first God of War game. Of course, the game is good, gameplay-wise, but it doesn't really contribute much to the overall story, so let's just get over this one quickly because I'm itching to start the Norse saga. God of War Ascension kicks off by taking us long before the time of Kratos. We see the heavenly battle between primordials, cosmic beings who basically created Earth. The primordials fought for God knows how many years, but the rage of these battles gave birth to 3 Furies. These Furies are neither living nor dead, and they don't care about anything except for loyalty. For some weird reason, the Furies are obsessed with blood oaths, and they punish anyone who breaks them. The first victim of the Furies was a massive giant with 100 arms who broke his oath to Zeus. So the Furies decided to set an example out of the monster by turning him into a living prison. They can torture future oathbreakers in the same prison. These Furies are sadistic. A few hundred years down the line, Ares made a pact with the Furies to overthrow Zeus. Didn't work, of course, but Ares had a child with one of the Furies, hoping the child would become a great warrior. This child was Orcos, who was a noble and peaceful being, so Ares disowned him. Furies then made Orcos the Oathkeeper because why not? Moving on, Ares saw potential in Kratos and wanted to use him to defeat Zeus, but we all know how that turned out. After Ares manipulated Kratos into killing his own family, Kratos broke the oath. Now, in the present, Furies want to punish Kratos for breaking the oath, and they torture him mentally by bombarding his mind with painful visions. The oath with Ares suppresses Kratos' guilt and the real memories of the past, but he wants to remember the truth. Meanwhile, Orcos sees how Ares and the Furies manipulated Kratos, so he betrays them. Orcos talks to Kratos and sends him on the path to kill the Furies. However, before Kratos can complete his mission, the Furies capture and lock him inside the prison. But of course, Kratos breaks free and eventually kills all of them. Honestly, good riddance. Ugly monsters. Kratos is happy, thinking that he's free from his oath, but this isn't the case. Orcos tells Kratos that before dying, the Furies made Orcos the Oathkeeper for Kratos. So, Kratos must kill Orcos to truly free himself of this torture. Shockingly, Orcos is ready to die and asks Kratos to stab him. Ah man, Kratos obviously doesn't want to do it, but he eventually kills Orcos with his blade. The oath with Ares is finally broken, and in an instant, Kratos starts remembering everything he's done in the past. He always knew that he killed his family, but the guilt was suppressed because of the oath. Now he feels awful for what he's done. And this very guilt forces Kratos to serve the gods so that he can erase these memories. Alrighty then. It's time for Kratos to travel to the Norse world. The story kicks off with many years after he's killed the Olympian gods. Kratos clearly survived and is now living in Midgard. He's older and bearded. Yeah, he looks like a total badass. He's also trying his best to move past his angry personality. Also, Kratos is now a father. He's got a boy named Atreus. However, his family is not complete, as his wife, Faye, has died recently. The game kicks off with Kratos and Atreus collecting logs marked by Faye for her funeral. As Kratos lights his dead wife's funeral pyre, Atreus grabs the knife that is placed on her dead body. It's the only thing that the kid has left of his mother. Kratos, on the other hand, has obtained the Leviathan axe from his wife, and yeah, when Kratos throws it away, it returns to him. Out of the blue, Kratos asks Atreus if his mother had taught him to hunt. Getting a yes as an answer, Kratos asks to see what he learned. While it seems like a random thing to ask, Kratos wants to make sure that Atreus is ready for their journey ahead. Turns out, Faye's last wish was to have her ashes scattered from the highest peak in all the realms. The two begin hunting down a deer, and after missing the first time, Atreus eventually lands the shot. Kratos now asks Atreus to finish what he started and kill the deer. However, Atreus is clearly too young, so seeing the boy struggling, Kratos helps him kill the deer. Back in their home, Kratos gives Atreus lessons in anger management, and suddenly there's a knock at the door. The voice behind it tells Kratos to come out. And shockingly, the person outside knows who Kratos is. Kratos tells the stranger to leave his home, but the dude does not listen and just starts punching him. After a few punches without any change in facial expression, Kratos decides that it's enough and lands a serious punch. The two have an intense fight, which destroys the landscape around them. What's interesting is the strange guy rambling about how he can't feel anything, that he was hopeful that fighting with Kratos might change that. Well, fighting with Kratos is clearly not a task for an ordinary being, but yeah, who is this guy? More on that later. For now, Kratos ends the fight by snapping the stranger's neck.
Feel something, but you can't.
After the fight ends, Kratos takes Atreus and travels to find the tallest mountain in all the 9 realms. On their way, they meet Brock, the blue dwarf blacksmith, who forged the Leviathan axe along with his brother. Brock says that it's no ordinary axe as it's infused with frost and is a counter to Thor's hammer. After Kratos and Atreus help Brock move his cart, the dwarf improves the axe and shows them the way ahead. Moving on, the duo spot a wild boar, which Atreus shoots for target practice. Turns out that the boar is the last of its kind and is a friend of the Witch of the Woods. The witch tells Kratos to carry the injured boar to her house. Later, the witch sends Atreus away to get some ingredients for the medicine. Then she leans forward and casually drops the bomb. Shockingly, she knows that Kratos is a god from another land, and if she can tell, so can the others. And the gods from these lands aren't exactly the welcoming type. To make things easier for Kratos and Atreus, the witch puts a magical mark on both of them to make them go incognito. After that, Kratos and Atreus leave on a boat. And on their way, Atreus tells Kratos about the Norse gods, a lesson that he got from his mother. The boy tells Kratos about Thor, the god of thunder. Thor is half god and half giant, and he's the son of Odin, the Allfather, and the king of Aesir. And then he also reveals about another one of Odin's sons, Balder. Apparently, Balder is an Aesir god who can't feel pain. That's when Kratos realizes that this must have been the god he recently fought. Well, that certainly clears things up. Once Kratos and Atreus are done talking about this, a snake the size of a freaking mountain pops out of the lake. It's the world serpent. Surprisingly, the world serpent seems friendly. He even says something to Kratos and Atreus in his own language. Of course, the duo can't understand any of it, so the serpent leaves. If all that isn't surprising enough, Kratos and Atreus now run into Brock. Interestingly, the dwarves have magically appeared in the center of the lake. Brock gives Kratos the key of Yggdrasil, which can open a doorway between the branches of the world tree. It's basically a shortcut between the 9 realms. Nice, Kratos is getting cheat codes. The father-son duo travels further and runs into Sindri, another dwarf blacksmith, and Brock's brother. Sindri was also Faye's friend, so he pays his respect to the dead lady by improving the Leviathan axe. A bit further, the Witch of the Woods appears suddenly behind Kratos and Atreus to join them on their adventure. The trio now has to move past a black cloud of magic, which can only be dispelled with the light of Alfheim, one of the 9 realms in the land of the Light Elves. The way to Alfheim is through Tyr's temple, which is in the center of the lake where the world serpent is. Just real quick, Tyr was actually the Aesir god of war and one of Odin's sons. However, Tyr gave up on violence, which didn't bode well with the Allfather, so he killed him. Or that's what everybody says. Moving on, Kratos finally reaches Tyr's temple, and the witch gives Kratos the Bifrost. It's a key of sorts that allows travel between the 9 realms, but only through Tyr's temple. Kratos uses the key and opens up the portal to Alfheim. Once inside, the witch begins to tell Kratos about the light of Alfheim, which Kratos has to capture in the Bifrost. But she's pulled back to Midgard by some sort of magic before she can finish.
To restore the Bifrost magic, you must step into the light, but be very careful not to get caught.
Okay, what the hell was that? Anywho, the father-son duo makes their way to the light of Alfheim, which shoots up in the sky and can be seen from any part of the planet. Atreus tries stepping into the light after hearing somebody call to him, but he can't because he's a child. Kratos, on the other hand, steps into the light right away. Once inside, Kratos enters a dreamlike simulation, and he sees his home, where Atreus is mourning Faye's death. In this light, Kratos senses Faye calling to him, but before he can reach her, Atreus pulls him out. It only felt like a few seconds. But Kratos was gone a long time. Atreus was left alone. He had to fight monsters out here. The Bifrost is filled with light, so the work here is done. Kratos and Atreus must now return to Midgard, using the light of Alfheim. Kratos and Atreus get past the black fog and make their way into the mountain. Inside, the father-son duo are nearly killed by a dragon that comes out of nowhere. But Kratos, being the crafty bastard, manages to kill the dragon and save Sindri, who has set up shop just outside the mountain. Afterwards, Sindri gives Atreus mistletoe arrows as a thank you for saving his ass. After getting out of the mountain, Kratos wraps Atreus' broken quiver with a mistletoe arrow. As Kratos moves ahead with Atreus, he hears Balder, along with the sons of Thor. The Aesir gods are talking to a prisoner in a tree, asking about Kratos and Atreus. Meanwhile, Kratos and Atreus are hanging on the cliff listening to all of this. That's some true mockery of the gods. After the Aesir gods leave, Kratos and Atreus approach the prisoner. Kratos sends Atreus away. And just like the witch, the prisoner instantly understands that Atreus doesn't know about Kratos being a god. The prisoner introduces himself as Mimir, the smartest man alive in all 9 realms, and he's imprisoned there by Odin. He further reveals that the highest peak in all the 9 realms is not here, but in Jotunheim, the realm of the giants. Damn, all this progress for nothing. Mimir then reveals the gate to Jotunheim, but Kratos and Atreus can't travel there simply with the Bifrost. They need the special rune to open the portal. Of course, Mimir has a way to get them both to Jotunheim, but he needs to come along to truly help Kratos. But there is a teeny tiny problem. Mimir's entire body is stuck because of Odin's curse, so his body can't move. Mimir asks Kratos to cut off his head and take it with him instead. Well, it's not like Kratos hasn't done something like this before. Kratos must find someone who can reanimate Mimir's head using the old magic, and Kratos knows exactly the person, the witch. After reaching her place, Atreus joyfully asks the witch if she can bring a head back to life. The witch then sees Atreus' mistletoe arrows and throws them into the fire. It's just some arrows, chill lady. Kratos pulls out Mimir's head, which shocks the witch at first, but she uses some for magic to bring him back to life. Then Mimir drops a shocker for Kratos and Atreus. The witch is actually Freya, one of the Vanir goddesses, queen of the Valkyries, and Odin's ex-wife. Okay, yeah, did not see that one coming. Apparently, she is bound to stay in Midgard by Odin after she left him. Of course, Kratos is pissed that Freya hid her true identity, so the big man grunts a lot. After that little drama, Kratos, Atreus, and Mimir now go back to the lake to ask the World Serpent about the way to enter Jotunheim. As it turns out, Mimir can understand the serpent's language, so yeah, he's quite useful, as a head anyway. Anyway, the World Serpent reveals that they need to find a magic chisel to carve a rune that would open the gate to the realm of the giants. The trio now learn that they're going to find the magic chisel on the corpse of the giant Thamur, so they start moving. However, before they can find this item, they run into Sindri. Okay, at this point, you might wonder how Sindri and Brock are able to travel between realms like some friggin' assassins. Well, Sindri reveals that his people can slip between realms to get across regions undetected. So, I guess that explains that. Now, to keep things interesting, Kratos and Atreus run into the sons of Thor, Magni and Modi. After an intense showdown, Kratos kills Magni, and Modi runs away like a bloody coward.
No! How did you... You have no idea. You son of a...
Run away, little boy. During all of this, Atreus gets so damn angry that he starts coughing up blood. Okay, that's weird. So Kratos grabs the magic chisel and continues their journey. Kratos, Atreus, and Mimir, who's hanging on Kratos' butt, make their way to Tyr's temple, where they need to find one last thing to open the gate to Jotunheim. Or not. As they're about to, a wild Modi appears and uses his weapon to pin down Kratos with lightning. Seeing his father in such a sorry state, Atreus goes wild with rage and collapses. Seeing all this, Kratos finally gets up and punches the douchebag son of Thor across the hall, who then cries like a baby while running away. Again. Afterwards, Kratos is worried as Atreus is still unconscious. He takes his son to Freya, the only person he can think of, and begs her to heal him. Freya explains that this is because of Atreus' true nature. Okay, what the hell does that mean? Well, no time for that. As to help Atreus, Kratos has to go to Helheim and get the heart of the keeper of the Bridge of the Damned. Freya warns him, no matter what, not to cross the bridge. Also, his Leviathan axe won't work in the icy cold realm of the dead, but that's no biggie for Kratos, as he does have something stashed away at home that's suited for the task. You'll see. Before leaving for Helheim, Kratos asks for Freya's forgiveness for lashing out at her during their last meeting, to which she says, "Chill, dude, I understand." On his way back to the house to get his iconic weapon, Kratos is haunted by visions of Athena. It's been years since the god of war has picked up the Blades of Chaos. Yeah, that's right. It's the freaking Blades of Chaos. They're in this game. Apparently, with his son's life at risk, Kratos must be the god that he once was. And dude, we love that. After reaching Helheim, Kratos reaches the Bridge of the Damned. And after fighting the Keeper of the Bridge, he carves his heart out of his chest? Oh my god. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but these games are so violent, it's awesome. Back in Midgard, Freya uses the freshly carved heart to make a medicine for Atreus. Finally, the boy wakes up, so they're now ready for their journey to Jotunheim. On their way to the highest peak, Kratos tells Atreus that he is a god from another land, and that Atreus is one too. Forget puberty, Atreus has bigger things to worry about. During the journey, Atreus acts like a cocky teenager after hearing that he's a god. He even kills an already beaten Modi, who showed up all beaten and bloody by his father Thor. Apparently, Thor beat the hell out of Modi for letting Magni get killed.
What are you doing?
This is a much better knife than Mother's.
The trio finally get to the summit and open the gate to Jotunheim. But their troubles have not yet gone away, as Baldur has finally found them. A fistfight starts between Baldur and Kratos, but in the heat of it, Kratos breaks the gate to Jotunheim with Baldur. He literally picks him up and slams him into the gate. As Kratos pushes Atreus away to save him from Baldur, the dumb teen shoots his father back with an arrow and leaps at Baldur. Wow. Baldur leaps on his dragon after knocking Atreus unconscious. The fight continues in the realm travel room, where Baldur has already opened the bridge to the 9 realms in order to destroy Midgard. In all this chaos, Kratos activates the portal to Helheim without realizing, and before they can understand what's happening, they end up in the realm of the dead. Well, that's just great. Good job, everyone. Now, Kratos tries to find their way back to the mortal realm Midgard, and on the way, he learns that Baldur is the son of Freya. Really? Can't you make things any more difficult for Kratos? Apparently, Freya cast the invulnerability spell on Baldur because she was scared of losing her son. However, this doesn't bode well with Baldur, as he stopped feeling anything at all. Now, he leaves Freya alone so the woman can feel bad for what she's done. Moving on, after escaping hell, Kratos and Atreus somehow end up in Odin's secret chamber, which is full of artifacts and stolen things. Among these, they find a wooden painting stolen from Tyr's temple, which holds the clue about a secret way to Jotunheim. Surprisingly, Mimir can understand it with his magical eye. Turns out that the painting is a plan for a key to some hidden chamber. Now, they just need the key, made from the dwarves, which they can get done in an instant after returning to Midgard. After getting the key, Kratos, Atreus, and Mimir get inside Tyr's temple to find the gate. However, after their fight with Baldur, the realm travel room is broken. To fix it, the trio must go beneath Tyr's temple and realign it. In doing so, they find out that Tyr possessed the Unity Stone, which he used to travel between realms. After figuring out that Tyr used the stone to get to the realm between realms, the trio goes there to see if they can find the way to Jotunheim. As they do, the Jotunheim Tower is now back on the lake. However, before Kratos can open the gate to Jotunheim, he needs Mimir's other eye to open the portal because Tyr removed the crystal in the gate as a failsafe. And guess what? Kratos must get Mimir's eye from the belly of the world serpent. Ugh. Kratos gets inside the serpent's belly and finds the eye. Meanwhile, Baldur is just outside, and he knows that Kratos is the serpent's temporary snack. So he starts punching the world serpent, making him collapse, but not before the giant snake pukes Kratos and Atreus out. To make things worse, Freya arrives on the scene to save her son. After a brief monologue about how he hates Freya, Baldur tries to kill her, but Kratos stops him. The fight between Kratos and Baldur goes on for way too damn long, and at one point, Baldur gets the upper hand. Baldur moves forward to punch Kratos, but Atreus gets in between, and Baldur punches Atreus on his chest. Surprisingly, Atreus was wearing the mistletoe arrowhead on his chest. Yeah, the one that Kratos earlier tied on Atreus' quiver. For some reason, the mistletoe arrowhead actually hurts Baldur. Like, for real. Turns out the mistletoe is the only weakness of Baldur, and it lifts Freya's invulnerability spell. Oh, so this is why Freya wanted to burn those arrows. Finally, Kratos manages to actually hurt Baldur, and the Aesir god seems quite excited about the fact that he can feel pain. But all this doesn't sit well with Freya, who tries to stop the fight by possessing the body of the dead giant. But that doesn't work, as Kratos and Atreus go tag team on Baldur. As Kratos begins to choke the life out of Baldur, Freya begs him to stop and let her son go. After thinking a bit, Kratos decides to walk away. But Baldur isn't making it easy for Kratos to walk away as he tries to choke his own mother to death. That's just cruel, man. Seeing this, Kratos snaps Baldur's neck. After seeing her psychotic son dead, Freya loses her mind and curses Kratos for taking everything from her. She crosses the line and talks about Kratos' past. So eventually, Kratos decides to tell Atreus all about his past and how he regrets all of it. Kratos also says that Atreus must become better than his father. With everything lined up and ready, Kratos and Atreus head back to Tyr's temple to finally get on top of the tallest peak of Jotunheim. The gate finally opens after a very long wait, and some pretty hard labor, and the father-son duo get going to scatter Faye's ashes. As they reach the summit, the duo passes through a cave that is carved with murals all over its walls. These murals tell the story of Kratos and Atreus, their journey, and the people that they met along the way. The giants already knew what was going to happen, and even more shocking, they reveal that Faye was a giant. So that makes Atreus part giant and part god. Also, the giants called Atreus Loki. Kratos reveals that Faye wanted Atreus to be named Loki. Kratos and Atreus scatter Faye's ashes and head down the mountain, making their way back home. God of War Ragnarok kicks off not much after the conclusion of the 2018 game. After hunting down a deer for food, Kratos and Atreus are heading towards home on their dog sled. It's a good father-son moment, but things turn ugly when Freya attacks Kratos. Yeah, you can say that she's pissed at Kratos for killing her son Baldur. Of course, Kratos doesn't want to fight Freya, and he somehow manages to survive the angry goddess's attacks. After reaching home, Kratos and Atreus see that their wolf Fenrir is about to die, and Atreus is not feeling good about it. Eventually, Fenrir dies, and we literally see his soul passing over, well, somewhere. Right after that, Atreus starts arguing with Kratos. The boy wants to learn about the giants, and of course, about Loki. But Kratos is hell-bent on training his son, so Atreus gives up and goes out to bury Fenrir. Meanwhile, Kratos sleeps on his comfy bed and dreams of Faye, who warns him that time is running short. Upon waking up, Kratos realizes that Atreus hasn't returned home, so he heads out to find the boy. On his way, Kratos finds an angry bear who just wants to kill Kratos, so the god of war fights the beast and eventually defeats it. However, before Kratos can kill the bloodthirsty bear, it transforms into, wait, Atreus. What is happening right now? Of course, no one knew that Atreus could do that, including the boy himself. Kratos says that Atreus' emotions might have transformed him into a bear. Atreus thinks that it's all the more reason for them to learn the truth about himself, but Kratos says, "No, boy." Oh my god, how do you do that? Moving on, Kratos now heads back home with Atreus to get some sleep, but right then, Thor arrives with his beard and beer belly. Doesn't look like Thor is here to fight Kratos, at least at the moment, so Kratos invites him inside. A few moments later, Odin also enters Kratos' home like it's an open bar. Thor kinda seems angry at Kratos for killing his boys, Magni and Modi, but Odin doesn't care about all that. Instead, Odin offers Kratos peace, but only if Atreus stops looking for Tyr. To sweeten the deal, Odin even offers to deal with Freya. Odin keeps talking about his deal for like an hour, and then Kratos finally says something. No. So, Odin leaves the house, and Thor charges at Kratos with his full might. Kratos does a pretty decent job at fighting Thor, but he's still holding back on his rage. So at one point, he actually dies at Thor's hands. It's like a full game over. But guess what? Thor basically brings Kratos back to life so that he can beat him even more.
Oh no. I say when we're done.
He pulled Kratos back from the loading screen. In the second round, Kratos does a better job at fighting Thor. Shockingly, the clash of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and the Leviathan axe is so freaking deadly that it freezes a massive bolt of lightning. This is so cool, by the way, because this thing stays here for the rest of the game. In the middle of the fight, Thor reveals that Odin has some plans for Atreus, and in that moment, Kratos actually throws a God of War level punch at Thor. Surprisingly, Thor actually seems satisfied after that punch, and he just leaves. After that, Thor gets back home and learns that while he was satisfying Thor's ego, Odin talked to Atreus and invited him to Asgard. Of course, Atreus said no, so Kratos is happy. Then Atreus offers to show Kratos what he's found while searching for Tyr. Atreus takes Kratos to a temple and shows him some sort of visual presentation that only a giant can unlock. The presentation talks about Ragnarok, a doomsday which is yet to come, and it shows Tyr leading the army of giants against Odin. Mimir says that Odin had killed Tyr, but after seeing this prophecy, he thinks that there's a chance that Odin has locked Tyr somewhere in Svartalheim, the homeland of the dwarves. Kratos now heads back home with Atreus, where they meet Sindri. The germophobic dwarf offers to take the father-son duo somewhere safe until, of course, they deal with this Odin situation. Then Sindri takes Kratos and Atreus to his home, which is located in a realm between realms. Surprisingly, it's very difficult even for Odin to find this location, so Kratos can rest easy knowing his son is safe. Brock also arrives there, and together, the dwarf brothers open the gateway between realms. So without wasting any more time, Kratos and Atreus head on to find Tyr and travel to Svartalheim. However, finding a prisoner of Odin isn't really a piece of cake. So the guys meet with a dwarf named Durlin. Surprisingly, Durlin was a friend of Faye's, so he gives a secret map to Kratos to help him find Tyr. Thanks to Durlin's map, Kratos and Atreus arrive at Applecore, which is an annoying and confusing maze of tunnels. But according to the map, Tyr must be somewhere inside. And he is. After strolling around for a bit, Kratos finally finds Tyr and frees him from the bondage. However, Tyr recognizes Kratos and is scared of seeing the legendary god killer. On top of this, Tyr thinks that Kratos has beheaded Mimir. Carrying a decapitated head does make socializing difficult, you know? Tyr gets so scared that he runs out of the room, and Kratos and Atreus start following this tall-ass dude. They eventually catch up to Tyr, where Kratos gives him a rather short pep talk. And finally, Tyr pulls himself together. On their way back, Tyr tells Kratos and Atreus that he can't help them in any type of war, especially Ragnarok. However, Atreus replies that he's only looking for some answers, so Tyr agrees to help. After he's eaten some good food, of course. The group now returns to Sindri's house, where Tyr goes to sleep, and Kratos and Mimir talk about how they need Freya for this fight. The sneaky Atreus listens to the conversation and decides to visit Freya with Sindri. Doesn't seem like a very good idea, but alright. Of course, Sindri doesn't like the get killed by Freya plan, so instead he suggests that they should go meet Jormungandr, the real name of the world serpent. Then Sindri and Atreus sneak out of the house to meet the giant snake. After a bit of walking, Atreus finds Jormungandr, but the giant snake isn't much help, and he says something about ironwood. What is it? Well, that's a great question. After getting disappointed with the world serpent, Atreus decides to leave Sindri behind and meet Freya instead because she has much clearer speech. Freya is obviously pissed at Atreus, but she still listens to what the boy has to say. Atreus tells her everything, from him being Loki to finding Tyr and the prophecy about Atreus defeating Odin. He also tells Freya that every other giant is probably dead. Freya is shocked, obviously, but she still refuses to help Atreus and sends him away after taking his mistletoe necklace. Atreus now meets up with Sindri, who isn't all that happy that the boy went to meet Freya alone. But Sindri is not the fighting type, so he takes Atreus back home, where Kratos and Tyr are talking to each other. The group now decides that they should go to Alfheim to unlock the secret of Groa's temple. Kratos thinks that the information at the temple can answer some questions for them. Kratos, Atreus, and Tyr now reach Alfheim and open up the gates of Groa's temple. Inside, they see yet another fancy prophecy presentation which shows Tyr and possibly Atreus leading the army against Odin. According to Groa's prophecy, Ragnarok is coming, and Asgard will be destroyed while other realms will thrive. Also, this little presentation mentions ironwood. Yep, that's what the world serpent said to Atreus. Mimir explains that ironwood is some mythical paradise for the giants. Of course, Atreus is excited because the prophecy talks about some champion and Atreus thinks that it's him. But for some reason, Tyr isn't all that happy about this, despite the prophecy saying that they'll win against Odin. He's just not interested in fighting. Come on, stop being a buzzkill, Tyr. After heading back to Sindri's home, Kratos and Atreus again have an argument. Atreus wants some answers about Loki, and Kratos wants the boy to slow the frick down. Then Atreus goes to sleep all angry and pissed, and he just keeps thinking about ironwood. And well, thanks to the mysterious giant magic, Atreus travels to Ironwood through his dream. Atreus is confused, like really confused, and then he sees a wolf, who guides Atreus to a young woman named Angrboda, a giant who, for some reason, knows exactly who Atreus is. In fact, she was expecting Atreus to arrive in Ironwood. That's interesting. Angrboda takes Atreus to a shrine where the boy can get some answers. There, the young woman shows Atreus some prophecy carved on stones. The events mentioned in one of the stones have already happened, so Atreus knows it's the real deal, and Angrboda is not some prophecy scammer. But then Atreus reads the prophecy on the second stone, which shows that Kratos will die fighting Thor, and Atreus will join Odin. God, that's painful. Of course, Atreus can't believe what he's seeing, and he gets so damn pissed that he transforms into a wolf, but Angrboda calms him down and makes Atreus return to his human form. Angrboda then asks Atreus not to think about the prophecy for now, and instead learn some of the giant stuff. Moving on, Angrboda tells Atreus a bunch of stuff about the giants, and later Atreus is able to willingly transform into a wolf to fight some monsters.
Show me the wolf! That's it! You got it!
That's pretty freaking cool. After traveling for a little bit, Angrboda shows Atreus a bunch of marbles which holds the souls of giants. Apparently, after Thor and Odin started to slaughter the giants in Midgard, the surviving giants decided to hide by getting their souls transferred into these marbles. Angrboda then hands over the marbles to Atreus, saying that they are his responsibility now. Atreus is confused, but Angrboda says that she's only doing what was foretold in the prophecy. Once that's done, Atreus sees that some woman is taking away the animals' souls so she can live their memories. The giant woman who's doing this is Grilla, and she's Angrboda's grandmother. Apparently, Grilla got a little weird after Angrboda's father decided not to do anything to change his fate, and now he's just gone. So I guess it's understandable why Grilla would kinda crazy after losing her son. However, Atreus is with PETA, so he thinks that they should still help with these animals. Moving on, Atreus and Angrboda arrive in Grilla's lair, and this place is so huge that they feel like insects. Atreus then sees a snake with a soul, so he transfers one of the giant souls into the snake. Well, it works, but the snake just leaves the place without doing much, which confuses the hell out of Atreus. The boy gets demotivated and thinks that he's not the right person to hold these soul marbles, so he gives them back to Angrboda. However, before they can talk more about this, Grilla returns to her lair, and yeah, she is indeed a giant. Atreus and Angrboda act brave and fight Grilla. They not only win the fight, but they also destroy Grilla's magic pot so she can no longer take away animal souls. Of course, she's pissed, and she taunts Angrboda by saying that she has no purpose, and Angrboda won't even be a part of Loki's journey. Well, that's sort of true, because in the prophecy, Angrboda just vanishes out of Loki's life. That's just kinda sad. Later, Atreus talks to Angrboda, and while he understands the prophecy stuff, he just can't accept that Kratos will die. He also asks Angrboda to always try to rewrite her fate. After that, Atreus goes back to sleep so he can return home. It works, But unfortunately, Atreus returns to his original home and not Sindri's. This place is just crawling with monsters, but the good thing is that Kratos arrives there right on time. Of course, the big man is pissed at Atreus for running away, but before he can get some answers, Freya attacks them. Gosh, Freya almost gets close to killing Kratos, but eventually she realizes that Kratos is more useful to her alive. Freya is bound to Midgard, and she wants to break free with Kratos' help. Brock and Sindri also arrive, so Kratos sends Atreus back home with Sindri. At the same time, Kratos and Brock travel to Vanaheim to help Freya. After arriving in Vanaheim, Freya turns into an eagle so she doesn't get torn away because of Odin's binding spell. Basically a loophole that Freya found. Moving on, Kratos and Brock run into Freyr, Freya's brother. Freyr wants to help Kratos, but Freya talks to her brother and tells him to back off and let Kratos do his work. Kratos and Freya now move ahead while Brock rests at Freyr's camp. Eventually, the wandering duo get close to the World Tree, which is the source of Odin's binding spell. But right then, Kratos gets attacked by Nidhogg, the guardian of the World Tree. The monster is massive and powerful, so Freya hurries the hell up and destroys Odin's knots at the World Tree. It means that she's free from the binding spell, at least in Vanaheim. Now, Freya teams up with Kratos, and they both defeat Nidhogg by cutting off half of its head. After that, Freya undoes the rest of the binding spell from the roots of the World Tree. And finally, the woman is free. She can now walk freely between realms, so she's happy. Also, she actually forgives Kratos for killing Balder, realizing that there's one person to blame for all of this: Odin. Next, Kratos and Freya head back to Freyr's camp, and we see a heartfelt reunion between the brother and sister. Freyr wants Freya to stick with him and rebuild Vanaheim, but Freya wants to move ahead and get ready for Ragnarok. So she goes to Sindri's home along with Kratos. Without wasting even a second, Kratos asks Atreus where the hell he went and what he's found. And well, the conversation turns into an argument, and Atreus says that he's thinking of going to Odin to get some bloody answers. Of course, everyone in the house tries to stop the boy, so he transforms into a bear and runs away using the pathway between realms. Once Atreus is away from Kratos, Odin reaches out to him with one of his ravens and teleports Atreus to the walls outside of Asgard. Not gonna lie, Asgard seems beautiful. Near the wall, Atreus meets Skjoldr, a young boy from Midgard. Skjoldr then says that the only way to reach Asgard is through the walls, so Atreus starts climbing it. Of course. On top of the wall, Atreus meets Heimdall, an Aesir god and the son of Odin. Atreus introduces himself to Heimdall as Loki, so Heimdall says that it'll take Loki to see Odin. But that's not it. The big fat liar god decides to fight Atreus instead. Atreus tries to fight Heimdall, but the Aesir god can see every upcoming move, so he dodges everything that Atreus throws at him. However, before Heimdall can do Atreus any harm, Thor and Odin arrive and stop the nonsensical and completely unnecessary fight. Odin knows that Atreus is here to betray him, but he's still interested in talking to the boy. Odin now takes Atreus to his home, where they meet Sif, Thor's wife and the mother of Modi and the stepmother of Magni. Yeah, the guys that Kratos killed, so she must be really pissed at Loki. However, Odin is scary as hell, so Sif leaves without saying much to Atreus. To make things worse, Odin asks Atreus to rest in Modi's room and read some books until he's ready with some questions. Once Odin leaves, Modi's sister, Thrud, arrives to meet Loki, and surprisingly, she seems pretty friendly. Moving on, Atreus meets Odin in his hall, and the All-Father rewards the boy with Ingrid, a sword that actually seems pretty alive. Odin then takes Atreus down into a cave, where he shows the boy a small tear between realities. According to Odin, this tear is the source of all truth, and the knowledge of, well, basically everything. Odin wants to use this tear to stop Ragnarok. Yeah, sure. Odin also shows Atreus a broken mask, which shares the same energy as the tear. The mask has something written on it, and surprisingly, Atreus can read it. However, since the mask is broken, the text is not complete. Odin tells Atreus that by unlocking the mystery behind this tear, they can stop everything bad from happening, and maybe change their fate. Of course, Atreus wants to change fates to save Kratos, so he agrees to help. Odin then asks Thor to accompany Atreus to another realm where they can find another piece of the broken mask. Obviously, Thor is not happy about helping Atreus, the son of the man who killed his sons, but he helps Atreus anyway because Odin is scary as hell. Now, while Atreus uses the broken mask to track down the other half, Thor gets busy fighting the monsters. At the same time, Atreus meets Angerboda, who is in this realm looking for more stones holding souls of the giants. Together, Atreus and Angerboda enter a shrine, where they unlock yet another fancy presentation. This time, they see Sinmara, an ancient giant, and Surtur, the first and the last fire giant fighting together. Sinmara and Surtur eventually fall in love and transform into a single massive being who destroyed Asgard. So, yeah, that's another part of the prophecy that Atreus needs to understand. After the presentation is over, Angerboda leaves the place so Atreus can do whatever the hell he's doing for Odin. Moving on, Atreus finally tracks down the other half of the mask, and now the mask is full, Thor and Atreus return to Odin's place. Odin's happy that they can read more of what's written on the mask, and he asks Atreus to translate it. If Atreus does this, Odin promises to answer some of Atreus' questions as well. Now, while Atreus is studying the mask at Odin's place, Kratos is growing restless at Sindri's house because he doesn't know where his boy went. So, Kratos decides to do something and heads out to find the Norns, the goddesses of fate, who basically know every damn thing. So, they must surely know how to find Atreus. Next, Freya joins Kratos, and the two arrive at Kratos' old home where they pick up Speki and Svanna for the sledge. After a lot of traveling and killing a lot of enemies, Kratos and Freya get close to the Norns, where they see a Kelpie. Kelpie is some sort of mystical horse that can dive underwater. Freya says that the Kelpie belongs to the Norns, so she and Kratos use the Kelpie to finally reach the goddesses of fate. Good horsey. The Norns are truly extraordinary, as they know everything Kratos or anyone is about to say. They even shock Kratos by completing a sentence, and not in a romantic way. After some mocking, the Norns tell Kratos that Heimdall wants to kill Atreus in Asgard, so Kratos will eventually kill Heimdall and bring Ragnarok. As Kratos is about to leave, the Norns also say that Kratos' story will end soon. Expectedly, Kratos leaves the place quite instantly so that he can beat the crap out of Heimdall and save his son. Kratos and Freya now return to Sindri's house, where the dwarves tell him that it won't be easy to kill Heimdall, who can foresee every attack from an enemy. This is when Brock suggests that they use Draupnir, a ring they stole from Odin. Apparently, Draupnir has the ability to multiply itself, and Brock wants to use it to create a weapon to kill Heimdall. So then, Sindri gets Draupnir, but they need more material to create a badass weapon. On top of this, they have to visit the Lady of the Forge, a mystical mermaid who can forge this weapon for Kratos. So Freya, Kratos, and Brock head out to find this, lady. Kratos now arrives at the forge along with Freya and Brock, and they meet the legendary mermaid. The lady takes all the materials and creates the Draupnir spear for Kratos. Right then, Brock asks the lady to bless the weapon, but she doesn't listen, and leaves. Brock then realizes that the lady didn't listen to him because a part of his soul has been missing. It means that Brock actually died, and Sindri brought him back to life, but lied to Brock about it. Brock is pissed at Sindri. And on top of this, the mermaid didn't bless the weapon, which is actually important for the spear to work. So Kratos gets down on his knees and asks Brock to bless the weapon.
May it be put down when its job is done.
That's what you call good writing, folks. If I can get on my soapbox for a second, everyone should play these games. Sometimes a piece of media, a movie, an episode of a TV show, a book, or even a video game sets a new standard for what you expect out of your experiences. This game did this for me. Moving on. The spear works as advertised, and the Draupnir ring does allow Kratos to multiply the weapon infinitely. As Kratos heads toward his next location that leads to Heimdall's beatdown, Odin visits the god of war. Odin asks Kratos to let Atreus serve his purpose, and that he has no intention of hurting him. But Kratos wants his son back, no matter what. So after hearing a lot of grunting, Odin just leaves. Kratos is now back at Sindri's home, where Brock and Sindri are trying to find a way to Asgard. Also, it seems like Brock hasn't confronted Sindri for what he's learned while talking to the lady. Kratos now takes some rest and dreams of Faye, who asks Kratos to keep Atreus safe. Kratos now wakes up, and in the next instant, we see Atreus back in Asgard. It seems like Atreus is having a great time, especially with Thrud. Atreus talks to Odin and asks about Ymir, the first giant Odin killed years ago. Odin tells Atreus that when he killed Ymir, it created this rift, which he thinks is the birthplace of reality. Odin tried to take a peek inside the rift, but the power from the other side destroyed one of his eyes. The All-Father then says that he only wants to see what's behind the rift, nothing less and nothing more. Yeah, I highly doubt that. Atreus then tells that the inscription on the mask hints towards the realm of Helheim, where they can find another piece of the mask. So Odin asks him to go there along with Thrud because she's a much better partner than Thor. And yeah, Heimdall is accompanying them. Damn, I hate this guy. Atreus, Thrud, and Heimdall now arrive at Helheim, and Heimdall leaves the duo because he has to handle some mysterious task of Odin's. Meanwhile, Atreus and Thrud move ahead to find the mask piece. Deep inside Hel, Atreus and Thrud see a massive, really massive wolf that's chained up. And being the animal lover that he is, Atreus breaks all the chains, and the beast runs away like a happy mutt. Atreus and Thrud think that they've done something good. However, the douchebag Heimdall returns and tells them that the thing they just released into the world is Garm, and it can tear the fabric between realities. Also, it turns out that Atreus was wrong, and a piece of the mask is not in Helheim. That's a bummer. Heimdall starts throwing so many insults at Atreus that even Thrud gets angry. But then, Heimdall takes Atreus and Thrud back to Odin so the old man can scold them. Back at Odin's place, Odin tells Atreus that he really messed up freeing Garm, that it's already causing chaos in other realms. Of course, Atreus gets incredibly sad, and he asks Odin if he can go home. And since Odin is acting all high and mighty right now, he does let Atreus leave, without the mask, and Ingrid, of course. Atreus now returns to Sindri's house, which, shockingly, is being attacked by some monsters from hell. Yeah, it's because of Garm, who's just tearing the fabric between realms like it's a damn cloth. Fortunately, everyone defeats the monsters and closes the rift, thanks to the Giga Chad, Kratos. Atreus is so freaking happy seeing his dad that he hugs him. Aw. As expected, everybody's pissed at Atreus, but surprisingly, Kratos tells everyone to back off and agrees to help Atreus correct his mistake. That's the power of a dad hug, man. Moving on, Kratos and Atreus return to Hell so they can make Garm stop destroying, well, everything. After a bit of slashing, Kratos and Atreus find Garm. They have no choice but to fight him. Kratos tries to chain Garm instead of killing him, but this beast is crazy, so Kratos is left with no choice and chokes the hound to death. Kratos and Atreus think that Garm is dead, so they decide to leave Hell, but then the stubborn-ass hound returns, and he's even more deadly. Kratos fights Garm again, despite not knowing if he can truly kill the beast. And during the fight, Atreus stabs the wolf with his mother's knife, which surprisingly makes Garm run away. Interesting. Atreus then explained that when his wolf Fenrir died, Atreus unknowingly transferred its soul to his mother's knife. And now Atreus thinks that through the knife, he has transferred Fenrir's soul into Garm's body. That's next level crazy. And guess what? It works, because when Atreus finds Garm, he realizes that it is Fenrir. Fenrir listens to every instruction from Kratos and Atreus, so the wolf can close down those rifts. The problem is solved, but Kratos is both impressed and scared by Atreus' giant magic. However, Kratos finally decides to trust Atreus, and even apologizes to the boy for being so distrustful.
I am sorry.
Well, ain't that something. The father-son duo now heads back to Sindri's home, and Atreus tells everyone everything about the mask. Everyone refuses to believe that something called the Rift of Creation even exists, but Tyr confirms that it does. Tyr also says that Odin wants to use the Rift to get infinite knowledge, and that is scary. After learning all of this, Freya returns to her brother so she can prepare them for whatever the hell is going to happen. At the same time, Kratos and Atreus decide that they will join Freya later. After some time, Kratos and Atreus arrive at Freya's camp to help her, but they learn that Freya's brother has been captured by an enemy. So Freya is out there to make sure her brother doesn't die. Kratos and Atreus also learn that two celestial wolves, Skoll and Hati, haven't been seen in days. These wolves are known for chasing down the sun and the moon endlessly. They've also been part of the prophecy of Ragnarok. It's said that when the celestial wolves catch their prey, it will be the beginning of the end. Someone has apparently stolen the moon, which has kept Skoll and Hati away from the sky. So Kratos and Atreus decide to find the wolves, and they do find them sleeping. The father-son duo learn that Heimdall stole the moon so the wolves never catch it and start Ragnarok. While Heimdall was away, Kratos and Atreus find the moon and release it into the sky, getting things back in order. Also, Atreus fires an arrow into the sky to make the wolf chase the sun, which is also part of the prophecy. My god, that's beautiful. So Kratos and Atreus have done everything exactly as is foretold in the prophecy. Once that's done, Kratos and Atreus meet Freya at her camp, and Kratos decides to help Freya free her brother. Meanwhile, Atreus stays behind at the camp. Moving on, Kratos and Freya get extremely close to finding Freyr, but right then, the asshole Heimdall attacks them. Kratos now asks Freya to find her brother while he teaches some manners to this arrogant little god. Of course, it's quite difficult to find somebody who can see every incoming attack, but hey, the Draupnir spear was forged for this very moment. Kratos uses the spear to create unpredictable detonations and catch Heimdall off guard, actually hitting him. The fight is pretty brutal, and at one point Kratos destroys one of Heimdall's arms. But then, Heimdall regrows his hand and gets a shiny one this time. The fight continues, and Heimdall does his best to fight the god of war, but Kratos eventually chokes Heimdall to death. Honestly, Heimdall had it coming. Moving on, Kratos sees that Atreus has arrived to help Freya on her mission. Finally, thanks to everybody's efforts, Freya is able to rescue her brother. The gang is now back at Sindri's place. They think that by killing Heimdall, Kratos has actually started Ragnarok, and now they have no choice but to learn more about the mask and the Rift of Creation. Sounds simple enough, but it really isn't, because this means that Atreus needs to go back to Odin so he can actually betray him after getting all the information. Kratos is obviously unhappy about all of this, but sensing the urgency of the situation, he lets Atreus leave. Atreus now arrives at his old home, where he meets Angerboda and Fenrir. Angerboda tells Atreus to be safe, gives him the stone with Loki's name on it. After this, Atreus returns to Odin's place to complete the mask and get this over with. Atreus meets Odin, who, by the way, isn't sure who actually killed Heimdall. Atreus reads the inscription of the mask and realizes that another piece of the mask isn't in Helheim. Instead, it should be somewhere in Niflheim. Atreus now heads out to find Thor so he can accompany him yet to another dangerous realm. However, Thor is right now drunk to his bones. He even starts a good old bar fight. Once that's done, Thrud asks Thor to pull himself together and get over his daddy issues. Odin treated him like a pet. So what? He still has a family who loves him. After hearing those painful words, Thor goes with Atreus to find the missing piece of the mask. After a lot of puking and killing some monsters, Thor actually helps Atreus find the final missing piece of the mask. However, as soon as the mask is complete, Odin arrives there like a desperate kid looking for candy. But before Odin can take the mask, Sif arrives there and tells Odin that it was Kratos who killed Heimdall. Great timing, Sif. Of course, Sif wants to punish Atreus, and Odin doesn't like that one bit. But then, Sif motivates Thor to avenge his sons by killing Atreus right here, right now. So, while Odin is distracted, Thor takes a swing at Atreus. But fortunately, Atreus opens up a portal to escape with the mask. Thank God. Atreus is now back at Sindri's place, where he shows everyone the mask. Sadly though, Atreus still has no clue what the hell this mask actually does. So, the vibe killer Tyr actually does something useful and suggests a plan. Tyr says that he knows of a secret way to Asgard, so that they can go there to get answers about the mask. But something isn't adding up, and Brock is the one who senses it. He asks Tyr why he didn't tell them about this secret way to Asgard before. Also, why the hell does he keep calling Atreus Loki? How would he know that name? Right then, Tyr stabs Brock in the stomach, and it turns out Tyr is actually Odin. When I played the game, I got full body chills. The entire time, Tyr has been Odin. Odin now leaves the place with the mask. Brock dies right then and there. Kratos and Atreus now head out to find Sindri, who has taken Brock's body, and he's pissed at everybody. Basically, everybody. However, Kratos can understand the pain of losing someone, so he leaves Sindri alone to deal with it. Kratos and Atreus are now back at Sindri's house, and the entire gang is now preparing for the final battle against Odin. They plan on summoning everybody for this, and that includes the elves, the Valkyries, basically everybody out there who hates Odin and Asgard. However, to start Ragnarok, Kratos must find Surtur, the last fire giant, and blow the horn of Gjallarhorn. So then, Kratos heads out with Atreus to the realm of Muspelheim to do what needs to be done. After a bit of fighting, Kratos finally finds Surtur, and he's indeed a pretty scary looking dude. At first, he doesn't want to help Kratos start Ragnarok or help him in any other way. However, it's crucial for Surtur and Sinmara to combine and transform into a beast to start Ragnarok. So it's a bummer he won't do that. But then, Surtur sees the primordial fire within Kratos' Blades of Chaos, so he asks Kratos to put the blades inside his heart. Apparently, Surtur is carrying Sinmara's heart inside of him. And of course, Sinmara is holding onto the fire giant's heart. That's true love, if you ask me. Expectedly, Surtur doesn't want to involve Sinmara in Ragnarok. There's a way this thing could work. If the Blades of Chaos, which have the primordial fire, get in touch with Sinmara's heart, it will transform Surtur into the beast. And it does work. And Surtur says that he will wait for Kratos' call when he gets right down to war against Odin. Kratos and Atreus now meet up with Freya at Tyr's temple, who's with the Valkyries to make them ready for Ragnarok. Kratos gathers everybody and finally blows the Gjallarhorn, which opens up a portal just out of Asgard's wall. Everyone is there fighting the forces of Odin. In fact, the World Serpent is also here fighting none other than Thor. On top of this, Surtur has also arrived in his massive and even scarier form. But in the middle of all this, there's someone who's not so thrilled, Sindri. Of course Sindri is there to fight, but he blames Atreus for the death of Brock. Oh, that's just heartbreaking. Sif and Thrud have somehow survived until this point. And while they are Asgardians, these two hate Odin as much as Kratos. Sif thinks that Odin has been a selfish bastard who only cared about himself, and with him dead, his family can finally be at peace. That sounds about right. So instead of fighting Atreus and Kratos, Thrud teams up with them against Odin. But right then, Thor grabs Kratos after finding some time off his fight against the World Serpent. Of course, Kratos and Thor have fought before, but this time, Kratos isn't holding back his punches. In fact, after a lot of axe throwing and hammer smashing, Kratos defeats the God of Thunder. However, the God of War refuses to kill Thor. In fact, he asks Thor to let go of his hatred for the sake of their children. Guess what? Thor actually listens to Kratos, and he drops his hammer. I kind of feel like something bad is about to happen. Turns out I was right, because the next moment, Odin arrives and stabs Thor for refusing to fight Kratos.
I didn't want this.
Odin, you are such a sick bastard. Kratos and Atreus now start fighting Odin together. It seems like they're having a tough time. So Freya joins the fight like a complete badass and tries to choke Odin with her magic. But then Odin shatters the ground and drops down into his lair with Atreus. where they can see the Rift of Creation. Atreus grabs the mask from Odin, and the Allfather asks Loki to use the mask to see through the rift. Shockingly though, Atreus destroys the mask right in front of Odin. Kratos, Atreus, and Freya now start fighting Odin, and this time they actually defeat him. Odin is on the verge of dying, so Atreus uses his giant magic to transfer Odin's soul into one of the giant stones. It's a good thing that Atreus did, but Sindri doesn't have any compassion left after Brock died, so he grabs the stone and smashes it with his hammer, releasing Odin's soul. Jesus. Surtur now starts destroying the very foundation of Asgard. Every one of the good guys barely escapes. To make sure everybody survives, Freya's brother Freyr sacrifices his life. A little while later, Atreus meets everybody who survived Ragnarok. Sif and Thrud are also alive, so that's good. But the hard part is yet to come, as Atreus talks to Kratos and tells the big angry man that he wants to find the giants who are still alive. Atreus wants to go on his journey with Angerboda, and surprisingly, Kratos shows a little faith and gives Atreus his permission. Meanwhile, Kratos reads one of the prophecies engraved by Angerboda. There, Kratos sees that someday, somewhere, people will worship him as a god. So you can say that Kratos' journey is far from over, and he will find this new path with Freya, and of course, the talkative head Mimir. Okay, that's it for today's video, guys. I've seen enough of Greek and Norse gods, and it's about time I move on to another great story. Meanwhile, you can check out some other amazing gaming recaps on this channel, because we do have some very interesting ones to choose from. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. See ya.